serious can you be when your power activates when you see panties? Well, not too serious I would presume, but this anime however may take itself too seriously. Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy Ewan, welcome to another edition to an anime review. In this episode, Punchline!
The story of Punchline is kind of a complex one. It may sound simple, but not at all. Punchline follows the story of Yuta Iridatsu as he tries to save the world. How does he do that, one may ask? Well, we don't really figure that out till episode 6. But the premise of the story is that Yuta has been transformed into a ghost and there's a big gigantic meteor coming down to destroy the world. And the key to stopping the meteor is apparently spending time in an apartment lot figuring out how to stop the meteor. However, the world can also be destroyed if Yuta sees panties as well. Twice, that is, in a short amount of time. So he's got to figure out how to save the world while keeping himself away from panties. The story is rather confusing until episode 6 when it all starts making sense. But the premise of the plot is time traveling, because Yuta must gather as much information as he can from the present in order to travel back to the past to prevent the meteor from hitting, thus making a better future.
The whole idea about spending time as an onlooker trying to figure out how to change time is a confusing concept indeed. It's actually quite hard to understand the story when it looks so normal with little to nothing happening at all in them. The story is pretty boring pre-episode 6 because you don't know exactly what is going on, and even after episode 6, it felt like it was just repeating itself. The backstory of Punchline is vaguely touched on. We see it, but we don't know exactly how and why it's happening. And the plot takes itself way too seriously and it gets really dramatic for something that is meant to be a comedy. And it doesn't really work well at all because it's all very hard to take in. And honestly, I don't think the payoff was worth it. Even the plot twist at episode 6 felt very predictable.
Yuta Iridatsu is the main protagonist. His goal is to save the world while trying to avoid from looking at panties as well. From what we can see, he's just as confused as we are. He doesn't understand why he has superpowers. When he looks up girls' panties, he doesn't know why he's a ghost, and he doesn't understand what's going on. It's like the writer did that on purpose to symbolize us in him. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing. We came for the ecchi, but we're confused with the story. There's also rather little character development for him, as we just see him having the same attitude throughout the rest of the show, where he is a guy living with a bunch of girls trying to avoid them, while being nice and also trying to be the hero, with the will to save everyone as best as he can. Other characters that make up the residents of the apartment lot are Mikatan Narigino, who also has a superhero persona and has little to development as she pretty much portrays the happy girl. Ito Hikatani, a neat, spends most of her time on the computer, however has more development over the course of the series than the other mains as she starts to get more involved with the people around her. Meika Daisu, who is a mechanic and a landlord, she serves as a guardian to pretty much everyone. And lastly there's Rabura Chichibu, who despite her incompetency is shown to be very reliable spiritual medium as the series progresses.
Unfortunately, I don't think the main cast is all that good, as I was so caught up in trying to keep up with the story to get a clearer picture of the characters. By the end of the series, I felt like they were just used to show their talent in the final battle. Because honestly, I think their interaction with each other is kind of boring. And I would go on to some of the other supporting characters if there wasn't that one character that really annoyed me.
Seriously, screw this cat. The art style I can't complain too much because although it doesn't look bad, it doesn't look anything great as well. The shape of the characters feel a lot more rounded than other animes, and the color palette is very simple, although some of the scenes look very childish in a good way, as it reflects on the characters rather well, and it shows the show is not as serious to show to begin with. However, the action scenes, although the last one is completely fine, everything else before it is nothing special at all, and it does suffer from frame rate problems, but none too breaking. As a personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of this kind of anime art style, as it looks very simplistic and a bit messy for me with the more rounded nature in the designs of the characters. I mean, it is supposed to be adults and teenagers, how can they look like preteen kids?
I actually kinda enjoyed the soundtrack of Punchline. Although the opening and ending songs are nothing to write home about, they're perfectly acceptable. The opening song may be a bit catchy in a bad way, but however, it's not too annoying. The OSTs are a mix of J-pop and J-rock, which I find especially enjoyable to listen to. And I especially like it when they have quite a variety of electro music kicking in. I like that the OSTs have many different variety of music fitting in with each situation. As for the voice acting, it's fine and acceptable. But seriously though,
Seriously, screw this cat.
I didn't really enjoy watching Punchline as I couldn't really get my head around the story. Not only was the story quite hard to follow, it was kind of boring at the same time. The show does get a tad better after episode 6, but that felt way too long before anything interesting started happening. And even then after episode 6, it just felt like it was repeating itself. And the fact is that the story takes itself way too seriously when the concept is stupid to begin with. The comedy in the show had very little impact as they weren't really that funny and they kind of get repetitive. The last fight scene wasn't bad and the soundtrack was quite enjoyable, but I think that's enough to make it very good. Especially if the characters are lacking and aren't that interesting. And
Seriously, screw this cat. For the story, I give it a 3, as the story is confusing and uninteresting to begin with. It takes way too long to go anywhere and the payoff wasn't really worth it. Also, the fact that the story takes itself way too seriously for such a stupid concept. The story sort of got better at the halfway, but that was still too long. For the animation sound, I give it a 6 and 7 respectively. Although the animation is good, but not great. Some of the scenes look good and some of them don't. I'm not a huge fan of the art style, but it shouldn't affect you all that badly. The soundtrack is quite enjoyable, as it's good to hear there's a variety of different tracks being played throughout the show, and they're pretty good ones at that. The characters get a 3 from me, as I found little interest in them, and felt like they were just there to fill out a certain role. There is little development in them, and the interactions just felt awkward between them. There are a few exceptions for some of the characters, such as Ito and other supports. The characters are bearable, and not too annoying. However, for the last time, seriously, screw this cat! For my personal enjoyment, I give it a 3 because it was very hard following this show. Plus, I'm not a huge fan of the art style. It looked quite simplistic and the story didn't feel like it fitted well with the art style. Some of the fight scenes and music are enjoyable, but that's it. I couldn't delve very deep into the characters as I didn't find them all too interesting. And jokes weren't all that funny to begin with as well. So for the final score after rounding it all up, I give Punchline a 4.5 out of 10. It feels like a below average anime was being made, which is reflected upon the art style. Although it's perfectly fine, the plot wasn't so serious and dramatic and should have been more silly like the concept. If you want to watch Punchline, go ahead, but if you're looking for ecchi, there's not that much, and if you're looking for something weird, there are plenty of better options out there.
Well, that's it for another edition of New Anime Reviews. If you want to read the written reviews, link is down below in the description straight to my anime list. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you can't bother, go watch another video. And when that all said and done, I seriously did not get what the punchline was. The punchline. Bang!